When you're in the process of purchasing a home, you know, there are many terms that you come in contact with that you may not be familiar with, such as due diligence. Well, what does it mean? Well, that's exactly what we're discussing today with our coastal expert, Teresa Cowart of RE/MAX Accent. Hi, Teresa. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
So due diligence, you know, a lot of viewers probably have heard that word, but what does it mean?
It is a time period where you do all of your inspections and you actually do your due diligence. It can be, you know, a week, 14 days, 21 days. It's whatever you agree on in the contract. But it is a time period where you are getting your financing under control. You are getting your inspections done. It's kind of your time period to decide, yes, this is really the house that I want. I really like it. Everything's good. Let's move forward.
So what about, should I have a survey done during this time when I'm buying a home?
Most people in our area don't. They're not required in Georgia. A lot of times if you're buying a piece of land, a resale type situation, you may want to get the pins marked just so you know exactly where your property is. We definitely suggest that especially if you're buying resale, I suggest everybody does it, but especially if you're buying resale, that you get title insurance just to kind of cover you anyway. But most people in our area do not get title or do not get a survey done.
So what about if I'm buying a house? Should I purchase a home if the property has an easement? And what are my rights and obligations under an easement?
It really depends on what kind of easement it is, because there's different kinds of easements. There are easements that are that happen over time. If somebody uses a certain part of your property over time, then it becomes some sort of an easement. If somebody builds something on your property, you know, that could be a problem. That's where the title insurance comes in. There are utility easements. You know, like if there's a utility easement across the back of the property, then you're basically saying that the utility company has the right to get into the backyard. Even though you own it, they have the right to come back there anytime they want to do whatever they need to, maybe dig that up if there's a problem. So you have to find out what kind of easement you have
Before you decide if you want to buy the house, if it does have an easement.
And it's always on, it always comes up in the title search. It's always there. So when the attorney's doing that, I shouldn't say always. Always is not a good word to be using in real estate or any kind of legal anything. It typically comes up when you're doing your title search and when you're doing your due diligence.
So most of the time. So if I buy a property in a non-traditional neighborhood, should I be concerned about how the properties around me are zoned?
I think that depends on each individual person. If, you know, we talk about declining areas, declining markets and things like that. If you're buying in an area that is mixed, where there's a lot of commercial, but then there's a lot of residential. We have a lot of that downtown, you know, where there's a lot of residential, and then there's, you know, sometimes the same building is mixed. So I think it depends on the person and the neighborhood. Like, you kind of have to judge that neighborhood by neighborhood.
Now, I know that there's certain testing. I mean, for instance, radon. I mean, should I have a radon test done?
I think the inspectors usually will guide our clients on what kind of inspections they should have done. That's not something I try to get too involved in, because I am not the expert on radon. That is not a test that's generally done in our area. It's just not something that we come across that often, and I don't know that I've ever seen it on an inspection in our area.
And that's good news.
Yeah, it really is.
So what about mold? I mean, what happens if you discover during a home inspection that the home has mold in it?
Well, then you start talking about what kind of mold does it have, because there are different kinds of mold. Some mold is easily taken care of, and other mold is bad, obviously.
And that's something that we do see in this area because of course, we live in a climate that it has extreme humidity.
Right, and if a home has been vacant for a while, we had one not too long ago where it was an estate, and the home had been vacant for a while, and it had gotten into the duct system and that kind of thing, and it wasn't the bad mold, but it was mold nonetheless, and you can't let someone move into that, so you have to get mitigation involved, and you have to get all that stuff cleaned and make sure that that home is safe for the consumer to move into.
But all of these things that we're talking about falls under that due diligence period that you have the right to really check out this house, make sure that this is exactly what you want, and that you can come to some kind of agreement in repairs and that kind of thing. And that all falls in the contract.
That's right. And if you're not comfortable with it, that's the time that you say, stop. I don't want to do this. I'm not comfortable with this. It's too much. Or I'm never going to be able to sleep at night knowing that there was ever mold in my house, or whatever it is. Like, that's the time that you would, terminate your contract and find something else.
Well, Teresa, I want to thank you for joining us and providing us all the information you did today.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you. If you have questions for any of our coastal experts or Teresa Cowart of RE/MAX Accent, just go to our Coastal Experts page. You'll find that at WSAV.com.